Hey everyone, it's Alice, and I'm here today to tell you all about the YA Book Prize 2023 shortlist. So if you've been on this channel before, you'll know that we often do videos about the YA Book Prize, and we did last year a shortlist prediction and we did the shortlist reaction, which is kind of what this is today. But we didn't end up doing a reading vlog last year because what actually happened was we filmed all on my phone and half of it wouldn't then come off of my phone and it was just stuck. So we gave up. We couldn't find a way around our technical issues. We read the whole book prize and it was great, and Honey and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jayagirda was the winner, and it was a brilliant winner, and I'm really happy to see a book like that win a prize like this. So I'm just as excited this year to see what is going to be shortlisted. So what we're going to do is Sean is going to tell me the titles and the authors, and I'm going to tell you what I think about those being on this shortlist, and I'm going to read out the blurbs, and then together we will learn the, I'm assuming, 10 books on this year's YA Book Prize shortlist. So come along on a journey with me. Book number 1 is
Twin Crowns by Catherine Webber and Cat Doyle.
Twin Crowns by Catherine Webber and Cat Doyle. So I had said that this was going to be on there, and then I kind of doubted myself because I haven't finished reading it yet, so I don't know whether the end of book 1 is going to make it a book that can stand by itself, because one of the rules of the YA Book Prize is if it is a book that has a sequel, it has to stand by itself. So if it's part of a series, it has to be able to be read as a standalone, which means Twin Crowns must work with that rule. But I also didn't know how it would work because it has 2 authors. However, this is quite clearly one of the biggest selling YA books of the UK publishing industry in the last year. It's taken America by storm, it's taken the UK by storm, it was bought as a 2-book deal and now it's turned into 3 books. It had a Fairy Loot edition, I have a feeling it had a Bookish Box edition. I will ask Sean if he can edit those onto the screen around here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's had 2 exclusive Waterstones editions for both books. This release is huge, so the fact that it is on here is not a surprise. I'm happy to see it on here. Catherine Webber has just been shortlisted before. Cat Doyle, I don't believe, has been shortlisted before, but definitely a great YA book to have on this shortlist. So I will just read out the blurb in case you don't know what Twin Crowns is about. I don't know how you could get away with that because it's been massive. But yeah, as I said, I'm only halfway through it at the moment, so looking forward to being able to finish this one off for this prize. Wren Greenrock has always known that one day she would steal her sister's place in the palace. Trained from birth to return to the place of her parents' murder and assert the only survivor, she will do anything to rise to power and protect the community of witches she loves. Or she would, if only a certain palace guard wasn't quite so distractingly attractive, and if her reckless magic didn't have a habit of causing trouble. Princess Rose Valhart knows that with power comes responsibility. Marriage into a brutal kingdom awaits, and she will not let a small matter like waking up in the middle of the desert in the company of an extremely impertinent and handsome kidnapper get in the way of her royal duty. But life outside the palace walls is wilder and more beautiful than she ever imagined, and the witches she has long feared might turn out to be the family she never knew she was missing. 2 sisters separated at birth and raised into entirely different worlds are about to get to know each other's lives a whole lot better. But as coronation day looms closer and they each strive to claim their birthright, the sinister king's breath, Willem Rathborn, becomes increasingly determined that neither will succeed. Who will ultimately rise to power and wear the crown? I mean, if you hadn't heard of it before, I bet you're gripped by that now. Book number 2!
Okay, book number 2 is The Eternal Return of Claire Hart by Louise Finch.
The Eternal Return of Claire Hart by Louise Finch. Okay, I've never heard of this. Let me look this up. I've never heard of the author or the book. This is exciting. I did do a shortlist prediction. Twin Crowns was on it. I have never even heard this one, so surprisingly enough, this one's not. The Eternal Return of Clara Hart. Spence and Anthony have been friends for years, but it's only when he witnesses a classmate die in what looks like a tragic accident at a house party that a flicker in the fabric of time helps Spence see Anthony for the first time. When Spence wakes up to the same day again and sees Clara, the girl who died, alive and well, it's clear he's been granted a second chance, and a third, and a fourth. Caught in a loop, condemned to experience the same 24 hours over and over, Spence tries to prevent the terrible events of the party. To break the spell, he has to reevaluate everything he previously took for granted and find the courage to call out his own and others' complicity in events that mark the life and death of Clara Hart. I love Groundhog Day stories. I'm here for this. I love the fact that this sounds like a YA thriller kind of cross with a contemporary, and I'm excited about this one. I'm surprised I haven't heard of it before, but definitely looking forward to reading it. Book number 3.
5 Survive by Holly Jackson.
5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I knew this was freaking going to be on here because Holly Jackson, author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, is another one of those UKYA authors who has also managed to make it in America. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder has American editions. It's got an Fairy Loot special edition set. 5 Survive got a Waterstone special edition that had like this really, really sick sprayed edge like police caution tape. It was really awesome. I'll get a close-up in here for you so you can see it. But I'm not surprised to see this on here. I think it would have been a crying shame to not feature Holly Jackson again, particularly considering how well A Good Girl's Guide to Murder as a series did, and this now being what I think is a standalone. Let me read out the blurb to you, but I'm excited to see this on here. Right. 8 hours, 6 friends, 1 sniper. 18-year-old Red and her friends are on a road trip in an RV heading to the beach for spring break. It's a long drive, but spirits are high until the RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere. There's no mobile phone reception and nobody around to help, and as the wheels are shot out, one by one, the friends realise that this is no accident. There's a sniper out there in the dark watching them, and he knows exactly who they are. One of the group has a secret that the sniper is willing to kill for. A game of cat and mouse plays out as the group desperately tries to get help and to work out which member of the group is the target. Buried secrets are forced to light in the cramped, claustrophobic setting of the RV, and tensions within the group will reach deadly levels. Not everyone will survive the night. Again, sounds gripping. Glad I'm going to finally get to pick it up. Book 4!
When Our Worlds Collide by Danielle Joando.
When Our Worlds Collided by Danielle Joando. This is the sequel to And the Stars Were Burning Brightly, which was also shortlisted for the YA Book Prize 2 years ago. I believe it's more of a companion novel than a sequel, but I'm also happy to see this on here. I thought it was published early enough that it wouldn't count in this year's shortlist selection, but I'm glad to see it on there. I'm glad I was wrong. So the blurb for this one is: when 14-year-old Shaq is stabbed outside of a busy shopping centre in Manchester, 3 teenagers from very different walks of life are unexpectedly brought together. What follows flips their worlds upside down and makes Chantel, Jackson and Mark question the deep-rooted prejudice and racism that exists within the police, the media and the rest of society. I did have that one borrowed out of the library quite soon after it came out, and we just never found the time to get to it, so we returned it. But again, looking forward to having an excuse to actually prioritise that one this time. Book number 5?
The Songs You've Never Heard by Becky James and Emily Wyatt.
Oh, The Songs You've Never Heard by Becky James and Emily Wyatt. Okay, again, I've not heard of either of the authors. Rebecca James rings a bell, but I don't know if that's going to be the same author or not. But I haven't heard of the book. And again, another book with 2 authors. That's really interesting. It's actually Becky Jerams, not Becky James. That is Sean's dyslexia acting up for us. So The Songs You've Never Heard by Becky Jerams and Ellie Wyatt is dual written by K-pop hit writer Becky Jerams and BAFTA-winning children's composer Ellie Wyatt. The Songs You've Never Heard is a debut YA novel that champions sisterhood, musical talent and body positivity. I mean, that already sounds really great. Perfect for fans of Estelle Mascamé, Chris Russell and Taylor Swift. How can 2 lost girls find their voices in a world that's determined to keep them silent? Meg McCarthy seems to be everything Alana Howard is not. Rich, glamorous, and thanks to Casper, her world-famous pop star brother, a social media influencer that every brand wants to sponsor. While Meg is feeling trapped by the squeaky clean McCarthy brand, plagued by online haters and too terrified to share her own talent with the world, songwriter Alana doesn't seem to be scared of standing out. But when Meg and Alana's worlds collide, they learn that appearances can be deceiving. Okay, that sounds really interesting. We've recently read Where the Light Goes by Sarah Barnard, which, by the way, I think will be shortlisted next year. And that was very impactful, and that was kind of talking about fame and the way that it impacts the siblings of the famous people. So I feel like this is a very timely one for us particularly to read, because that is something that we've been reading about recently. So looking forward to reading that one. Book 6!
Which is The Cats We Met Along the Way by Nadia Michael.
Okay, The Cats We Met Along the Way. I recognise the title, but I'm not sure. So, again, not one I would have put on my shortlist, because I'm not sure if I remember it being published or know anything about it. But let's find out what the blurb's about. So, The Cats We Meet Along the Way by Nadia Mikhail. I think I actually do recognise this cover. I think I agree with Sean that he said he recognised it. I've got a feeling it might have been on the Waterstones Children's Book Prize shortlist, or it might have been the winner. Right, let me do the blurb. A stunning debut young adult novel set in Malaysia. Goodreads just decided to crash on me. Technical difficulties continue. And this is why I let Sean go to get Ezra, because I knew this was going to take me fucking forever. Right. A stunning debut young adult novel set in Malaysia, charting Aisha and her family on a road trip through the country in search of estranged sister June. Set against the backdrop of a world catastrophe, this novel is full of love, healing, and hope. 17-year-old Aisha hasn't seen her sister June for 2 years, and now that a calamity is about to end the world in 9 months' time, she and her mother decide that it's time to track her down and mend the hurts of the past. Along with Aisha's boyfriend Walter and his parents, and Fleabag, the stray cat, the group take a road trip through Malaysia in a wildly decorated camper van to put the past to rest, to come to terms with the present, and to hope for the future. So it sounds kind of like a contemporary cross with a dystopian, which interests me. I mean, don't we all feel as though the world is about to end? So it's a timely novel, definitely. And again, good to see another debut on here. Book 7!
Her Dark Wings by
Melinda Salisbury! Her Dark Wings by Melinda Salisbury. Okay, I had this on my shortlist. I'm glad to see this on here. From what I can remember, this is a Persephone and Hades retelling. I might be getting that wrong. Again, this is one that I bought last year and haven't managed to prioritise getting around to. But I'm glad that this is on here. Melinda Salisbury is amazing. Her Dark Wings by Melinda Salisbury, who, if she wins this year, should have won for Hold Back the Tide, but I can understand why Loveless won that year, because Alyce Oseman is an absolute genius. But come on, Melinda Salisbury deserves her time to shine. She has been shortlisted for this prize so many times, and she just deserves it. Her Dark Wings is a modern-day take on the Persephone myth. I was correct. Infused with the intense potency of teenage passions. The richness of Greek myth is vividly brought to life by the immediacy and originality of a fiery contemporary drama, and iconic mythical figures crackle and change as a modern girl fills the underworld with new life. Exploring the thin line between love and hate, obsession and attraction, friendship and betrayal, this is a breathless and bold story beautifully told by an exceptional writer. It's about a girl who realises what she wants, and in getting it brings soul to a stagnant world and change to an unyielding God. It's about life and hope blooming in the unlikeliest of places. It's about being brave enough to release your wings. That doesn't really feel like a blurb so much as a review, but it kind of piques my interest a little bit more, because I have no idea what I'm getting into with that one. And I think I had pretty much the same thing with Hold Back the Tide. It had a blurb that focused so intensely on the very beginning of the novel that the rest of the novel just blew me away. So hopefully that will bode well for it. Book 8!
If You Still Recognise Me by Cynthia So.
Oh my god, okay, If You Still Recognise Me by Cynthia So, this should have been on my shortlist. Cynthia So was one of the authors that got discovered, I believe it was in the Proud anthology by Little Tiger Stripes a few years ago, and this, from what I can gather, is her debut novel. Absolutely gorgeous cover. Again, one that I was really looking forward to reading, but it feels like that's been out for absolutely years, so I'm not quite sure when the dates for this shortlist now are, because it recently, like the YA Book Prize last year moved from May to August. It's thrown out my calculations completely, apparently. If You Still Recognise Me by Cynthia So, who, yes, was in the Proud anthology, I was correct about that. Elsie has a crush on Ada, the only person in the world who truly understands her. Unfortunately, they've never met in real life, and Ada lives an ocean away. But Elsie has decided it's now or never to tell Ada how she feels. That is until her long-lost best friend Joan walks back into her life. In a summer of repairing broken connections and building surprising new ones, Elsie realises that she isn't nearly as alone as she thought. But now she has a choice to make. Ooh, okay. Definitely, I can see why I was so interested in it. The cover is absolutely stunning. And I'm very excited to read that one. Sounds like the sapphic love triangle that we all need in our lives. I'm happy with it. Book 9.
The Society for Soulless Girls by Lauren Stephen.
The Society for Soulless Girls by Laura Stephen. Okay, finally. Can I just say finally? Because Laura Stephen should have been shortlisted for the exact opposite of OK. It's one of the best UK YA books of all time. I still think it is a fucking crime that book was not shortlisted, because that book just impacted on me so deeply and it resonated with me so deeply. And when we were doing this shortlist, I said to Sean, I think that now that Laura Stephen's had a few books out and she's a bit more of a reputable author and people know that her books do really well, I think this is the year that she's going to be shortlisted, but it's going to be because she should have been shortlisted for the exact opposite of OK. So I called this being on here, and again, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I cannot express how much I love Laura Stephen. Then we have The Society for Soulless Girls by Laura Stephen. A dark and funny YA thriller with a supernatural twist, from the winner of the Comedy Women in Print Prize. 10 years ago, 4 students lost their lives in the infamous North Tower murders at the elite Carvel College of Arts, forcing Carvel to close its doors. Now Carvel is reopening, and fearless student Lottie is determined to find out what really happened, but when her roommate Alyce, not spelled my way, thankfully, stumbles upon a sinister soul-splitting ritual hidden in Carvel's haunted library, the North Tower claims another victim. Can Lottie uncover the truth before the North Tower strikes again? Can Alyce reverse the ritual before her monstrous alter ego consumes her? And can they stop flirting for literally 15 seconds in order to do this? Exploring possession and ambition, lust and bloodlust, femininity and violence, The Society of Soulless Girls is perfect for fans of Ace of Spades, The Secret History, and The Inheritance Games. Okay, I haven't read The Secret History, but I love Ace of Spades and I love The Inheritance Games. So, yeah, I'm up for that. I am up for that, and again, Sapphic. I love Sapphic stories. I think that it's great to see some more Sapphic literature on this list. Book 10?
Yeah.
Book 10! The last one! We are reaching the end. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. It's a man, it's foreign, so I'm really sure to say this. Kemosha of the Caribbean by Alex Wheatle.
Commotion of the Caribbean by Alex Wheatle. Okay. For some reason, I thought this was a middle grade. I think I've seen this advertised on the library app as a middle grade book, so I'm surprised that this has been shortlisted, because as far as I was aware, the last YA book that Alex Wheatle released was Cane Warriors. So I'm glad to see him on the shortlist again. Cane Warriors was very impactful. It wasn't my personal winner that year, but Sean really, really rated that book. And I really loved Alex Wheatle's Crompton series as well. So I'm looking forward to reading more of his work. But again, I thought this one was a middle grade. So I'm interested to read the blurb and find out what this one's about, because clearly I've got my wires crossed. Kemosha of the Caribbean by Alex Wheatle. Kemosha and her brother have lived their whole lives in slavery. Sold away to work in lawless Port Royal, Kemosha takes her chance to escape brutal treatment. With fortune on her side, Kemosha befriends Ravenhide, a man with a mysterious past who teaches her the art of sword fighting and introduces her to the beautiful runaway Isabella. Yet Kemosha's greatest test yet is upon the deck of the Satisfaction, the notorious Captain Morgan's ship. His next adventure on the high seas could be the making of Kemosha and her one chance to earn enough pieces of 8 to buy the freedom of her brother. It still does sound more of a middle grade to me, but I'm guessing, based off the fact that it is shortlisted for the YA book prize, that the content is going to be a lot more mature than the blurb makes it out to be. So that's probably the one that I'm most interested in, considering I had heard of it previously but hadn't really felt drawn towards it. But I am really happy with this shortlist overall. I think we've got some good representation, we've got some nice returning authors, we've got some nice debut authors, we've got some authors who really deserve to win just based off of the fact that they've got a huge body of work, but then you've also got the fact that I have not read a single one of these on this list yet. I'm currently like a quarter, maybe halfway through Twin Crowns. But I'm going into this with no standout favourite immediately. There's no book on this list that I've already read and thought that's going to win. And that's an exciting place to be. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm kind of glad that I barely read any YA last year, because it means that I can go into this pretty much blind. So before we go, I am just going to share with you my predictions so you can see which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong, and whether any of the ones I thought I'd said actually weren't on my list because I'd taken them off, which I think may be the case with the Society for Soulless Girls, which kills me. Hell, I did my shortlist in the car on the drive back from download because I can't remember putting half of these on here, but I'm now actually really surprised that some of these weren't shortlisted. So I was expecting to see Only on the Weekends by Dean Atta. I haven't read any of these books yet, but as far as I'm aware, based off of the blurbs, none of these are told in verse, and we normally get at least one novel told in verse on this list, and I was expecting Dean Atta to be that novel this year. Especially after how amazing The Black Flamingo was, I was expecting to see Only on the Weekends on here. I also thought we would see Gay Club by Simon James Green. Simon James Green was shortlisted last year with You're the One That I Want. It was a lot of fun, but I feel like Gay Club has been having such rave reviews. Perhaps it published late enough that it's going to be on next year's shortlist. Perhaps I'm just completely off the mark with that one, but that one surprises me. Her Dark Wings by Melinda Salisbury, I did say was going to be on there. Proud of that one. Unraveller by Frances Harding. Frances Harding wrote The Lie Tree. She wrote Deep Light. She's been shortlisted a few times. She is a YA author who feels kind of classic. She's got the same storytelling powers as like Eva Ibbotson. She's someone that I feel kind of transcends the modern UK YA scene. I think she's going to be one of the UK YA authors who are writing currently who will still be read in 50, 60 years. So I'm surprised not to see her on here again. The King is Dead by Benjamin Dean. Another one I am surprised not to see on here. I was leaning more towards like YA thrillers this year. So I guess considering there's a couple of like thrilling ones on here that I hadn't heard of, that's probably been switched in the place of this one. But I'm still a little surprised. Waking the Witch by Rachel Burgess, I also thought might be on here. It sounds like it's kind of a historical book about witches and family, and that is again something that you'll often find on the YA Book Prize shortlist, so I'm a little surprised that that didn't make it on. Twin Crowns by Catherine Weber and Kat Doyle I did have on my list. I'm glad it's on here. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Five Survive by Holly Jackson I also knew I had on my list because, again, Holly Jackson, absolutely brilliant author. The Society for Soulless Girls by Laura Stephen I did leave on my list, but I also put Mindwalker by Kate Dillon because that feels like it's a crossover. Some places it feels like it's being marketed as YA, sometimes it feels it's marketed as adult. I'd urge towards putting it on this shortlist because I feel like there's normally at least one quite high sci-fi book on the shortlist. Doesn't feel like we've gotten that this year. But again, I haven't read them all yet. Some of them might have sci-fi undertones that aren't apparent in their blurbs. But that does mean that I managed to get 4 books out of the 10. Which is pretty much where I normally am, to be honest. I'm normally just under halfway right. And I'm 100% convinced that I've managed to craft the perfect, the absolute like quintessential YA Book Prize shortlist. And I always manage to absolutely fail. So 4 out of 10 is not bad, and I am surprised to not see some of my picks on this list, but I'm very, very excited that we're going into this with some books I've never heard of, with some books that I've been excited about picking up for a while, with some books that I'd pretty much forgotten had even been published because it felt like they were so old. So this is going to be a fun couple of months of reading for us. We are going to try to do a reading vlog this year. We're going to try to do individual reading vlogs for each book because that's what we were aiming for last year. If my phone decides to crap out on me and it won't work, I might just do like a dedicated review for each book. We'll see how it goes. But you should hopefully be getting some more YA Book Prize content from us over the next few weeks and into August when the prize is announced. So thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you had created a YA Book Prize dream shortlist, what was on your list. Are you surprised by any of these inclusions? Did you get 10 out of 10? is there anything that you think was screaming to be on this list that has been missed out? If you've read any of these books, let me know where you think I should start. I mean, don't tell me where to start, because I'm going to start by finishing Twin Crowns, but tell me where to continue, what I should read next, what I should read last. Yeah, and let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you would like to see more YA Book Prize content from us, because whether you say yes or not, you're still going to get it. I'm Alice, this is the Bumbling Blogger, and this is the beginning of the YA Book Prize 2023, and I'm very, very happy. Have a wonderful day. Bye.